Introducing the Dark Girl Boss podcast for the melanated woman and girl across the globe. Unlock your genes of greatness. Feel powerful within the skin you are in. Love your unique DNA through our stories, facts, original narratives, quotes and poems. Join me, your host, Khadija Ward, on all major podcast platforms. Feel great and do great with the Dark Girl Boss podcast, not to be missed. Well, my beauties, I've been off the grid for a bit, but I'm back now. I must tell you, last week I had a fantastic week. Last week I went to Ascot, something that I don't normally do, but I went to Ascot with Agator's African Ladies Day. It was absolutely fantastic, off the chain, so much fun, just bonding with family, with community. It was wonderful. And I had a little flutter. I didn't win anything, but I had a little flutter watching the races. It was all fun. Absolutely fantastic. Agator's, and that's Agator's is run by Warrior Queen, Sister Angie Rose, and her other half, Yui Rose. Check out Agator's, agators.co.uk. That's agators.co.uk. Check it out, my people. Oh my God. Section 25 of the UK Matrimonial Act will fuck you up. Be warned that a marriage that you enter into under Western law, you will have to give half of your assets to the scumbag that you are married to in the event of a divorce. It is a financial contract. Forget God, forget Allah, forget Buddha. Western marriage is about finances, economics. This is a short podcast today, and one with a little difference. It's a warning, if you will. Marriage, nothing but a financial contract under the UK Matrimonial Act 1973. So, you're happy and delirious. Tyrone proposes to you, and you don't, before you give your answer, say, "Hold on, Ty, let me read the Matrimonial Act first." But believe me, you should. The Matrimonial Act basically sets out a financial commitment between you. If you get married under UK law, you are basically signing a financial contract with the party with whom you are tying the knot. End of story, chapter and verse, that's it, in a nutshell. Marriage is portrayed under the guise of a commitment to God. One gets married in a church or a registry office in front of a priest man, a man of the cloth, but under the UK law, it has nothing to do with God. People should just go to a lawyer's office and sign a financial contract. Similarly, if one were taking out a mortgage loan, it's a financial contract. I'll explain why I'm saying this in a moment, but first, let's take a look at the law of the land in England. These institutions, courts, are set up with people called judges to execute the so-called laws of the land, and these people are actually deemed as gods through these man-made laws. It isn't God's law, spiritual law of the universe. They are man-made laws upon which they are given the means to make decisions about your lives in this physical realm that we live in. And in so doing are referred to as your honour, your lordship, your worship, all godly connotations. Do you see the irony here? Man-made laws with godly connotations and powers of God that you've given yourselves is twisted and narcissistic. And in the making of such laws, they provide themselves with the ultimate power to deal with you as they will, and this applies to all categories of the law, criminal, family, all of it. The court itself is positioned so that the judge sits higher than anyone else. Even if he is 4 feet tall, he will feel 10 feet tall and powerful in that chair because the man-made laws have provided him the power to do with you as he sees fit. So imagine, you have this being that is just like anyone else. If he were walking down the street, no one would batter an eyelid, he would not stand out, no one would fear him, no one would even care who he was. He is, as far as anyone knows, no one special of any consequence. But through the creation of man-made laws, he finds himself being bowed down to with the powers of God. So he feels in charge, he feels powerful, he feels superior, he feels godly. Just imagine, one appears before a judge in a court of their laws. The person who you stand before has the power to take away your liberty and lock you up in a prison or any other institution, like a mental institution, for instance. You may be able to appeal, but remember, you are appealing to them under their own laws, their system. In some instances, you have to get permission to appeal, and the judge that made the decision against you decides whether you should be given permission to appeal against him. The whole system is rigged. Please read my book, Black Sterling, published in 2017. It goes into great detail and depth about the systems and economics we live under, rigged so you lose in all the other categories of life. Also, we cannot ignore the fact that these people are also members of particular lodges, secret societies, where they all fraternize and make decisions about the masses. They are all working together. How do you think the judicial system was created in the first place? It was behind closed doors of secret societies, and the laws are such that the executor of it are above it. It is rarely, almost never applied to them. Anyway, the whole system that we live under is about money, economics. I have to mention Black Sterling again. How the entire system is about power and economics. Check it out, please. Under the laws of the land, they can just take away your livelihood and leave you penniless and homeless and tell you it's the law. When one goes to court, whether it's family court or criminal court, the judge gets paid, the barristers get paid. Again, economics. They, the barristers, speaks for you, and you are not even allowed to speak or address the judge. The judge is the court. You are in the dock like a tiny mouse with your fate in the hands of some strange people. It's so crazy, almost like an Alice in Wonderland story, completely unreal. Anyway, the Matrimonial Act, which is dealt with under family law, if you get divorced, you have to share your assets 50-50, unless you provide a case where the judge should, as the Act says, depart from equality, inverted commas. These people wouldn't know equality if it fell on their head. It's all just warm words and not practiced in actuality. There is so much statistical information out there to back up my assertions on this in terms of their unequal ways of living and ways of applying laws. Anyway, scenario 1, say you are married. There are no children between you. You've worked for 10 years solid, paid for everything, purchased your house. The other party hasn't contributed anything, nada. And then you decide, okay, don't want to be married anymore, let's get divorced. You get divorced, and then the ex sues you to get half your assets, which they have the right to do under the Matrimonial Act. How is it possible that someone with whom you are not a blood relative, this is some random jackass that you hooked up with when you were high on drugs, on a vibrational low, just simply naive and stupid, all three, that the law says you must give him half of what you own? That makes it a financial contract because you enter into financial contracts with people with whom you're not blood related. They are not emotionally charged contracts. They are cold contracts based upon money, economics. So why on earth is a priest required in the first instance at the beginning of the union? What they have done is taken the sanctity of marriage, an emotionally charged and spiritual union, and packaged it under a financial contract, which makes no sense in the real world, only in the world of Alice in Wonderland, which leads me to believe these people are as mad as a hatter. An English phrase which suggests insanity. The legal The legal process of divorce is you have to declare all of your assets and every piece of your financial information to the court. If you purchase coffee at Pret for the past 5 years, they want to know about it. Why did you spend money at Pret? Why didn't you make coffee at home to save money so we can award the ex more money? Once they get you in that door, you are at the mercy, in the dock actually, not through the door. Once they get you in that dock, you are at the mercy of egotistical, cold-hearted ex's lawyers who will rip your financial history apart and bear it for all to see. Your bank accounts, your income, all of your financial assets. You can be grilled in the dock for hours upon hours about your money, how and why you spent your money as you did. They will grill you longer than they would grill a murderer on trial for killing a child, because this system cares more about money than the welfare of human beings. It's a cold, harsh system that we as a people need to depart from, as we are by nature spiritual beings living under a cold, hard system that cares nothing for our spiritual well-being. So now we have an emotionally charged union, that is a marriage, being dealt with under economics, because emotion does not factor into this process whatsoever. The ex-partner could have tried to kill you in the past. It would make not one iota of difference to the judge, the court. It's all about money. If the ex-partner that is suing you was a penniless hack, a serial womanizer, an adulterer, or a domestic abuser, or all three, the court will not care. Google it if you don't believe me. It's all about the money. The marriage is the financial contract, and now it's ended. It's time to pay up. Pay the piper. Under family law, you must explain every penny of where you got your money from, how you spent your money, where is all your money. If you were paying for phone sex for the past decade, they will see it on your bank statement, and it will likely become a question on you why you paid for phone sex when you could have got sex from your partner and saved all that money, so there would be more financial assets toward him. His lawyer says, "Judge, let's tally up the phone sex money. That comes to £15,000 over 10 years. Okay, let's give him 50% of that as your punishment." And the judge says, "Agreed, you should have given him sex." They will award the ex half of your hard-earned money. They will even make you sell your house and leave you penniless on the streets to give the ex half of what you worked for on your own. Thereafter, you have to sit and listen for 3 hours to the ridiculous musings of a judge on why he decided to put you on the street and give away your assets. Sit there and listen to why I'm punishing you, please. And the decision maker, the judge, after his judgment is given, will go back to his 7-bedroom house in the suburbs with 2 garages, bank account full of money, holiday homes, etc., and say to his wife, "Oh, darling, pour me a glass of wine. I've had such a hard day." Not battering an eyelid that he has just made you homeless. To him, his decision was equivalent to having just put the cat out at the front door. So, economically, the winners are the judges, the lawyers, and the ex. You lose. When people get married under English law, it's some big celebration. But my advice, if married under English law, go to a solicitor first and put a prenuptial agreement in place. But my ultimate recommendation would be to seal your relationship. Just simply jump the broom. Positive vibrations, my people. Give thanks and praise to the ancestors. That's it, my beauties. Very short and sweet, but it was just a quick warning to give you an overview of, the marriage contract, what to do before you enter into it. So that's it, and I'll be back next week. But remember, feel great and do great. This is Dark Girl Boss Podcast, and do great. This is Dark Girl Boss Podcast. I'm Khadija Ward, and I'm out. Remember the Dark Girl Boss Podcast for the melanated woman and girl across the globe. Unlock your genes of greatness. Feel powerful within the skin you are in. Love your unique DNA through our stories, facts, original narratives, quotes and poems. Join me, your host, Khadija Ward, on all major podcast platforms. Feel great and do great with the Dark Girl Boss Podcast, not to be missed.